Already done an hour. Obviously, John Calipari has left Kentucky and will be the new coach at Arkansas. A shocking chain of events, but one that I think ultimately can be a positive for Kentucky. A lot of folks are writing in for questions, and I want to hear what the general public thinks, and we're going to open up the phones here in just a minute. Let's talk about this. Just yes or no answer. Is Kentucky, was this a good thing to happen for Kentucky long term?
See, I'm in the boat that my answer is yes. I just think the timing was right. It was, like I said, time for Cal to get a fresh start and time for Big Blue Nation to get a fresh start and the program to get a fresh start. So it's like, I think the timing is probably right. So I go yes.
Do you think it's like with Tubby?
Yes.
That was certainly the right time for that.
And it's so eerily familiar where Tubby's, early years were so good and then kind of tapered off at the end. A school comes out of nowhere, courts him, and boom, just like that, super quick, in half a day, he's gone.
It's also worth noting, though, they got turned down by Chris Beard and Jerome Tang before they went to Cal, which is a really strange chain of events.
The other guy they interviewed was the Arkansas Little Rock coach.
Their other contender was Arkansas Little Rock and Will Wade. Those were the two that they were looking at, was Arkansas Little Rock guy and Will Wade. What do you think?
Yes, I do. I think it was inevitable. Cal was going to run this next season back with the same things that he's been doing the last 4 or 5 years, and we would have just been in this same situation a year from now. So it saves Kentucky $34 million, and now Kentucky can jump in that pool and find somebody else.
So let's go back to my optimistic view.
All right.
Okay, so first of all, this next year, if you were ever going to lose Cal, first, we always knew, all of us knew, the year Cal left, the next year we would lose all of our players. We all knew that, right? That's part of the Cal wager. You get good immediately, but then you collapse when it's over. But now you don't have to collapse because of the transfer portal. We can put a good team on the floor next year. I mean, there are teams right now that went to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 that had a completely different roster than they had this year. South Carolina's women just won the national championship with a completely different roster than the roster they won the national championship with last year. Like, you can go and do it. So if there was ever going to be a time for him to leave, Ryan, this is as good as it was going to be.
So, the new coach, whoever it might be, has that advantage that other coaches have not had because they can go rebuild with the transfer portal immediately.
Will we have any player on the roster now stay? Or any of the freshmen coming?
Well, Travis Perry, right?
He might. Travis Perry, maybe. Reed Shepherd, pipe dream, but maybe. Everyone else, gone. Just you'd assume that's happening, right? Just assume we won't get any of none of the recruits will be here. None of the players currently on the team. I think between me and you, there was only like 2 currently on the team that even had a shot to come back anyway. I think DJ Wagner might have come back. And I think Z might have come back. The rest of them, I think, were gone.
Do you assume that they're all going to follow him to Arkansas also?
No, I think some of them will, but I think some of them might not. I mean, I think, you got to want to live in Arkansas. Now, I do think most of them will. Maybe they all will.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. What made us think this was going to be any better next year? Like, what made us think relying on freshmen next year was going to be better than relying on freshmen this year?
We probably would have seen a lot of the same.
Been a lot of the same.
Yeah.
It would have been probably a lot of the same. Kentucky basketball now, there are some things we've accepted for 10 years that are going to change in a positive way. Our AD is going to have a relationship with the new coach. Think about that. Our football and basketball coaches are not going to hate each other. The football and basketball coaches despised each other for the last 3 years. Like, they despised each other. That's gone.
Right.
Right? You're going to have a coach who talks to the local media. You're going to have a coach who does his pregame shows.
How about that?
You're going to have a coach that doesn't, run away from being in public with folks. Like, you're going to have a coach that's like Cal was the first few years. We haven't had that in a decade.
Might get some players whose sole focus is on Kentucky and not going to the NBA.
You're going to get some players who stay here for a little while. Yeah. I mean, now, what are we going to lose? we're going to lose being the guy that on draft night, our coach is up there watching all the dudes get picked. And while that was cool, I'd like to be the one playing the night. Right? How many of those good dudes for Purdue are going to be drafted?
One.
Maybe 3 from UConn? Wouldn't you rather be playing tonight?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what we're going to have. I think we'll be back to that. I genuinely do. Somebody writes, who's going to be in a Final Four again first, Cal or Kentucky?
Well, you know, kind of like you said, Matt, you can just rebuild immediately now.
You get the right coach, we'll be good next year. Now, I think it would be unrealistic to say we're going to go win a title good. But let's go say you get Nate Oates. You don't think he can put a team together next year?
Certainly can.
He did it this year.
He did it this year. Their starting lineup is completely different than it was last year, and he got them in the Final Four.
I mean, Cal may have to play his own in the tournament. I mean, the preparation's on a different level with some of the teams that we've seen in the Final Four.
You don't think on the transfer portal, every single person out there now sees that one of maybe the best program in the country has a lot of playing time available?
Need some players.
And needs some players, right? I mean, I just see it as an opportunity. We're going to lose Boogie Flan and Jaden. We're going to lose those guys, and that stinks. You know, I'd love to have them. But Ryan, this was coming one day anyway. Now it's just here now.
And Bob, we've said it 15 times already. The timing just seems to be best for all parties involved, including Cal. A time for him to move on and get a fresh start. I hate the fact it's in an SEC rival, but that's where he wants to go. That's the decision they made.
What? Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to ask you this, because I've had a couple people text me this. I'm just going to ask you. They said, basically, they feel like a little bit of a fool from that press conference. That
You should have never believed it to begin with. Again, if you watched that press conference, if you watched that meeting with Barnhart and Cal and thought that meant all was good, that's on you, man. Like, you got to be, like, remember what my reaction was after that? You weren't here, I don't think. But you remember what my reaction was after I saw that?
What?
I'm glad they did it, but it changed nothing for me. Because
It was the same
I
talking
feel
points.
bad. By the way, you guys can have a seat wherever you want. I feel bad because, like, I'm not trying to be, but I want to say to people, I've been telling you guys, you can believe what is told to you by public figures, or you can just accept reality. Those two guys did not like each other. And them sitting there and doing a press conference or doing an interview did not change that for me one bit, Ryan. Did it you?
No, because we knew the behind the scenes. But I think a lot of people, took it at their word.
But everybody's been telling people. They just didn't want to believe it. You know, for all the Matt was like angry, what about Kyle Tucker? Why would he write all that? He was Cal's guy for 2 years.
Yeah.
Why would TJ Beisner leave? Why would Jay Lucas? Like, the signs were there, you just didn't want to hear them. Some people.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't feel like a fool because I never thought it meant anything anyway. But you didn't either. Did you?
No, but I think, like one guy said, man, when Cal looked right in the camera and said, this is where I want to be. I want to be here. He said, I believed him when he said that. And now we find out he was talking to Ohio State in February.
I didn't believe him.
It was the same talking points from the radio show, Ryan. You know what I mean? He just
I don't
kinda-
think Cal is a dishonest or a bad person. But have we not learned you couldn't believe what he said?
The injury news, yeah.
Like, Severe Wheeler's coming back. I mean, like, this was out there for people to see. Here's the only thing I'm surprised about. I'm surprised he went in conference and is going to have to play here at Rowe. That's the only thing I'm surprised about. I thought it was possible he'd take another job. I'm surprised he chose to take one where he's going to have to walk in here next year.
Did he also talk to USC? I saw that floated around some last night.
That's the one I always thought he was going to take.
I would too. I can see that.
That's the one I thought he was going to take. But, this is going to be the right thing. It just is. John Calipari had a great legacy, but this was falling apart behind the scenes. The NIL thing, they put up and asked for $1 million and they had 50,000. They were shocked. You know who wasn't shocked? Me. I knew that was going to happen. They had no idea where this fan base was. That's the biggest telling point is this. Calipari and his folks had no idea how deep the fan base was frustrated because they had cut themselves off from the fan base. So when the Oakland game hit, I've talked about this, you could feel it in the building.
Yeah.
Were any of you there? When he walked off the court, Drew and I looked at each other. Game was over. I think, they were fouled at the end a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we were about to walk off, and I said, Drew, hang on. I want to watch the last minute because I think this might be the last time we ever see Cal. And there's a video I posted last night. It's kind of eerie, actually, of him walking off the court. CBS, doesn't talk and just lets the sound run. It was great directing by whoever did that. And as you walk off in the building, you could just feel it was different. You could just feel this fan base. It's not going to work. You could feel it in there.
Yeah, there was a fan leaning over the railing as he walked off, said, Cal, is this the gold standard? Is this the gold standard, Cal? He just, yelling at him as he walked off that floor that time.
So what about the report from John Fanta that Calipari said he didn't feel wanted or supported?
Well, it goes back to winning. I think that would change if he was winning actual games. But, what was telling for me is when that store owner called KSR that wanted to give money for NIL and couldn't do it. I mean, it seemed like Cal has absolutely checked out in several different aspects of coaching. And now it reinvigorates both sides.
Last night I couldn't sleep, so I was trying to think of what today was going to be like. And I decided I am going to write a post today. I made a commitment to myself. And here I'm going to give you the gist of it. Calipari's not the coach here anymore, in large part because he lost 3 guys. Dwayne Peavy, Kenny Payne, and John Roden, that represented the 3 parts of his personality that were a little weak, but they made up for it. And then when he lost those 3, he never replaced it, and that's why he's not the coach here. With Dwayne, he lost the connection to the fans and the administration. A guy who, Dwayne felt the pulse of Big Blue Nation. He understood it. He understood what the fans thought, and he understood how Mitch thought. Mm-hmm. And he was able to communicate Cal-isms to Mitch and the fans, and they trusted him. Cal trusted him. It worked. With Kenny Payne, he lost the guy who understood how to deal with these players. Cal's a lot, and Kenny Payne was the player whisperer. I know he didn't succeed at Louisville, but when Kenny Payne would show up at the gym at 2 a.m. and work these players out, and when Cal was screaming at people and they were like, I can't deal with this anymore, they'd go to Cal or go to Kenny Payne and he would help them. And then with Robick, they lost the basketball mind. They lost the X and O guy who goes, all right, we're playing Florida this week. What's their weakness? How do we exploit it? And Cal would listen to him. They lost all 3 of those guys in 1 year from 2019 to 2020, and it was never the same.
No.
It was never the same. Those 3, if you want to say at the end of the day, what did it in? Losing those 3 guys back to back to back, to me, is ultimately what did in the Cal era.
Yeah, like you said, because they kind of all just left around the same time. That's a big void to fill. Now, going into this season, this time last year we talked about Cal's got to get some shooters. He's got to get a game prep guy. He's got to make some staff changes.
They were going to make no changes. They were going to make no staff changes. When I heard that, I could not believe it. I could not believe it, but that's what was going to happen. You've already seen the reports, he's putting Brad on the staff at Arkansas. He wanted to do that here. I'm not sure that UK was going to let him or not. I don't know, but he wanted to. And I'll note, Tubby Smith, when he left, what was one of the issues?
Saul.
He wanted to put Saul on the staff.
Yep.
Time is a circle. I mean, time is a circle. Sometimes it repeats itself. We'll take a break.